Hey, hey, hey. It's your three amigos, and we're live on a Tuesday market chat. Hi, Nick. Hi, GP. How are we?
We're doing all right. We're doing pretty good.
Nice little up day in the market here. Let me pull the cues up real quick. We sold off a little bit off the highs, but after Thursday and Friday and Monday, I'm glad to see a green candle. I don't know about you guys.
Yeah. The way I'm looking at it right now is just that we've got a lot of getting above that 580 to, let's just call it 600. I think it's kind of likely that we fail there and kind of roll and kind of head down to our next. I think we're going to leg lower here, but
580.
Maybe not. Yeah, like just on the cues, I think the 10, 20, 50 are all kind of rolling. Well, not kind of, they are rolling. The 50 is about to roll through the 200. So I think that we should be getting some type of bounce here. I mean, if not, this is kind of a violent sell-off. But the 555, 556 was kind of my first measured move, first target to the downside. And we hit that yesterday. I probably should have. I had a SQ position on, and I probably should have covered more than sold more than I did into that. But I got stopped out of the rest of it this morning. So it is what it is. GP, what do you think we're near the end? Just beginning? What's your take here?
You're asking me a question about what the market's doing something today that hasn't allowed in 6 months, which is go green.
Sure.
Yeah, I think so. We might have had green days in the indices, but names are getting destroyed underneath for 6 months. So,
your Netflix looks fantastic.
There's a lot of things that look pretty good, right? Suggesting that. I think there's a compounding of a sequence of events that's happened. The market has been weak a little bit, and then as it was getting weaker, not a little bit, lots of bits. As it was getting weaker, it got closer to that SPX collar, and then market mechanics took over once it got closer to that collar, the short collar, which rolls off today. So I think whatever move is going to happen, I think it's cleaner from here.
It's cleaner.
So you don't have the market hedging dynamics. You don't have all the delta neutral stuff that's going on as the end of this quarter, because they roll it off and they put on either new strikes. But from what I hear, they're going to be doing a futures hedging strategy. So there may be no more of this market mechanics moving forward with the SPX. If they move over to the futures, the impacts could be astronomical, right? Because futures are huge. That's the rumors I've heard. I looked for something to kind of talk about it, but I didn't see it anywhere. But from what I understand, anyway, so the short strike is 64.75. I'm not going to go into the details of that stuff. There's a guy on Twitter, Vol Signals. He put out a video. I shared it on my StockTwits. Explains in great detail what's going on with some of the market mechanics. And so funny, as we get closer to the strike price and date, which is today, the decay, the reaction so far is to the upside, right? So basically they have to sell futures to stay delta neutral if the price keeps going lower. That's the cleanest way to. There's a lot more mechanics to it, so you should definitely go watch that video. But yeah, I think whatever it is unlocks on this quarterly calendar flip. Unfortunately, this is our markets every February, March, sometimes into April like last year, because we extended a few more days, we get this. We get these 30, 40, 50, 60, 70% moves down in stocks. And you're like, it's a miserable journey. Like, it's just not like, Ben, I hear you, long-term investor, blah, blah, blah. I get all of that, but this is exhausting. Like, if you're a Hood shareholder, Robinhood, which was way too high in the first place, it hit what, 65, right? That's a 70% haircut, 67% haircut.
153 was the high.
No, the low is here, right?
Oh, 65. Right. Yes. Yeah.
So
63.52.
Yeah, 52. Like, that's like, I know with volatility comes great power. So and this is like 30x. So I don't expect it to hold most of those gains, but it's like, it's not just this, right? We just had Microsoft do something like, you're seeing historic stuff, right? Microsoft might not be price action wise that bad as 2008, because I think 2008 was 63% down, or something like that. But that was over like 10 months, or whatever it is. This is over 6 months, and you're talking about historic, like, indicator stuff. I'm not talking about price action, because price action is what ultimately matters. But you're talking about RSI sitting under Black Monday lows on the weekly, under the GFC lows on the weekly, under the COVID lows when the entire humankind was going to die. Who needs Teams when no one can talk? No one's alive. So that's just some historic, mind-numbing stuff. And I hope whatever it is, whatever this, I'm not saying the market's going to go up from here, because I can't. I don't. If you're looking at the overall price action, Meta looks good. Microsoft is still kind of weak. Netflix looks pretty good. But we're still not out of the woods by any means, right? There's still so much to do. And if the bulls can push it up today, the SPX to 64.75, which is where the JPM put collar is, I think you're going to see fireworks in whatever direction.
Push it up to what was that again?
64.75 is their short collar put. And so once it gets below, they have to start hedging by selling futures.
Basically just short of the high of the day today.
Is that what that was?
Yeah, we were just a little bit underneath that 64.75.
Yeah, so they're obviously, they don't want to get above it, but if the bulls keep buying stocks, which in this environment, I don't know if they will. If the bulls keep buying stocks and they're able to push the SPX above that 64.75, which they've been selling futures to hedge to the downside. My general thought process is that on the upside, they have to buy futures, and it gets violent to the upside towards the end of the day, right? We shall see. No idea. Market mechanics, and there's just nothing you can do about market mechanics. You're never going to have enough power in your account to stop dynamic hedging flows and future selling. Like, these guys are selling, I think in the video he talks about, I think 7,000 contracts, right, of futures. Like, most retailers are doing like maybe 3, 5, 10, something like that. So you're just not going to overpower it. So you just got to wait it out.
Yeah, GP, I think your point on the investing is valid. I mean, just because I've been looking at the last 6 months as buying opportunities, like, I definitely could have bought lower as opposed to some of the things that I bought when I thought they might be breaking out, right? Same thing with ServiceNow on its continually drip lower. So once you're buying in the range and then the range breaks to the low side, it doesn't make you feel good. And I'm talking about, the range of what the Qs and the SPY have been doing, right? So it doesn't make you feel good. And just because I have more optimism than most just on life in general doesn't mean that I don't feel right what the market makes you want to feel, right? The market's designed to test your conviction, and the three of us are really good at looking at probability and trying to figure out what's the most probable outcomes. And I think you're exactly right. If I came on here and said the biggest probability is to the upside, like, I'm lying to you today, right? I wouldn't say that. I think if we have a good guess, it's right now anything can happen. You have such a macro convoluted world right now. It's just very difficult to say what one event pushes us over the precipice either way, right? I mean, we know we're living in this era of market by tweet, but it's a lot more than that now. You can kind of manage market by tweet in teaspoonfuls at a time, but when literally anything could happen, probability kind of goes out the door. And that doesn't mean that you have to be a doomer. That doesn't mean you have to be brimming with optimism, but to be somewhere in between is probably the most practical application.
It's pretty, like, so if you look at the Qs, we went from from a period of chop, pure sideways, to resolving down, and now we're sitting in like no man's land. Like, yes, we could go either direction from here. We could head down to the low end of the previous range because that's what we're in, or we could snap back. But if you look at like a lot of the high flyers, they all just broke down within the last like day or two,
which is normal.
Yeah. So do you think those high flyers are going to find their footing, or do you think that they're putting in like they're beginning like a stage 4 decline? Something like WDC, MU, SanDisk, like any of those ones that have, like AAOI, even the ones that have been just kind of like on a vertical rip.
The parabolas are going to all end the same way they so far have, right? Look at silver, look at gold, look at oil. Oil might be up higher now, right? But the end kind of the same way, with a 30 to 40% death moment, right?
So if we see a leg down, and like let's say MU back to like 250, 265-ish.
Yeah.
Do you think that coincides with like the overall market legging down, mags selling off continually? Or
there's one thing that I've been asking for, and like I get a lot of crap on stock puts about being a permabull and all that other stuff. I was like, the markets will not go up, and we've been talking about it for 6 months straight now. Markets will not go up if the mega caps don't stop selling. Like, I can't say this enough. So one day we got a reprieve, and like we talked about being long real world stocks and nowhere being involved in the mega cap stocks. So hopefully that saved you some pain, and they've done to mega caps what now make them attractive. And you're like, this actually might be a good time to get into mega caps, because you're looking at NVIDIA, forget what it's trading by, right? Like, based on what Jensen is saying and what he sees coming in his future, you have multiple CEOs. This is not the metaverse. This is not Zuckerberg saying, I'm creating this fictional world where everyone's going to play around and have all this stuff. This is literally real world applications. Could they still be wrong? Don't get me wrong. They can be. But Amazon, Google, Microsoft, Meta, NVIDIA, even Elon, who doesn't spend a lot on research and development, is throwing billions onto the AI piece. You're talking about some of the heaviest weighted players in the market saying, we need to spend this to grow and use this product. It's going to be hard not to be able to buy these names when they're actually at a cheaper name. Could we be in the one thing I mentioned, I think early on, is like if we do 6 months of this, which is what we just completed. Do you guys remember that conversation?
Yeah.
I was like, I'm fully out of the markets, right? And we did 6 months of it, and I was cash, right, for the most part. So it's now we got to see, like, you don't do 6 months of this to not have a violent move. Let's put it that way. So it upside, downside, whatever side it goes to, you do not have 6 months in the markets of balance, right? Up and down, up and down, up and down for 6 months with some heavy distribution at the lower end of the range, not so much at the higher end, but the lower end of that range. And you have it to break to the downside. So either we violently false break down, or this is the acceleration, right? And everyone's like, oh, we just need a retest of February 2025. You don't do 6 months of sideways to just retest a high from 12 months ago. That like technically that just doesn't happen too often. Maybe it does this time, but you do 6 months, and if you're going to break down, you're going down low. You could even potentially get back to the tariff lows, right? Like it could get that violent. I don't think it will, because the power that they've had to use to get even this 10% down. But I don't know if tomorrow, like, a bomb goes off that's on stateside, right? There's going to be sheer panic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, right? Like it's not just a tweet. Like any one thing could happen. Like the war could be over tomorrow, right? Like any one thing could happen, and I'm not smart enough or forecasting enough to know what any one of those one things might be. And sure, we can stack up a whole laundry list of things to the negative that could happen. That's always the case, but the most negative things don't always happen, but neither do the positives. So that's why I think just staying somewhere in between is kind of where we're at. And it's tough to stomach, whether you're a trader, a swing trader, or even an investor. I mean, we use anecdotal evidence when we talk on here a lot. I was talking with people this weekend. They were talking about their 401ks, how big of a hit they're taking. And it's just like, yeah, that's part of the game. Do you remember this time last year? So I hope we pull that beach ball underwater. But right now, I don't see the reasoning to make it shoot back above the wave just yet.
I think
go ahead.
Just the one other thing I would say is the severe lack of crypto participation, right? I don't think it's a risk-on asset, and it just doesn't come to party, and the apathy that's there can be can be a forecasting tool, right? Ultimately, the apathy in crypto, even on this major market bounce, is, yeah, I see you, but I'm gonna trade in $100 range for you. And a lot of times, there's a couple other things that I think as markets that people don't always talk about, is that VIX falling means the market's gonna go up. No.
Sure. Yeah.
VIX falling can be that people stop buying puts because they're not working, and they're like, you know what, screw this, I'm just selling down because we don't know what political event's going to come or geopolitical event's going to come, and I'm just going to start trimming down my positions, right, overall. So that's your market down, VIX down, right? And then the other conversation that I see people, because we're so used to it, is if oil goes down, markets go up. And I'm like, yeah, potentially, but if oil goes down, markets can also go down, right? Like it can go both ways, right? Like it doesn't necessarily mean they've been correlated for like the last month, but doesn't mean it has to stay that way. Like if the reason oil is, first of all, oil hasn't taken out the Ukraine highs, and would you both agree that we're in inherently worse climate?
Just as a whole, And why is the oil higher? That's really the question you're asking.
Why isn't it higher than the Russia?
If we're in a worst case, yeah, I agree. Yes, basically nothing's changed in Ukraine in the last couple of years, other than we have pulled back from that, right? And I mean, we're in a world war without anyone calling it a world war, right? Like you have multiple fronts with allied powers on both sides of the thing at the end of the day. So we're really in a world military situation. And I agree with you, GP. Yes. Are we worse today than we were when Russia invaded Ukraine? Yes, we are all worse today.
Yeah. So why isn't oil higher than during that time, right? That it hit 131. I think the highest we hit was like 119, 120, which is about a 10% discount. Maybe they're accumulating, that's people's standards, or the fact that people could be looking and be like, well, oil price might go up, but demand's going to get worse, right? So it's economic weakness, right? Because it's oil's not selling off because of the is not going up because of the war. It's selling off because people know that economic weakness is a lot more impactful to the price of oil than the Strait of Hormuz being closed. Right? Like if there's no one buying oil, no one cares about a strait. Like ultimately, that's the reality. And so you can't just make the assumption that the correlations are always going to hold. And in this market dynamic where we continue to have parabola after parabola, which, by the way, oil is a parabola, right? Like, has the parabola ended yet? I don't know yet because it already had its 40% kind of cut, but it could be the first one before the final blow off top, right? So it could take out 131, could do a lot of things, but I think the market has been filled with parabolas in the last 6 to 8 months. We can go through sector by sector, equity by equity. Like, look at what Palantir did. Look at what Hood did. Look at what Rocket Labs has done. What, right? Look at what ASTS has done. And some of them are warranted because they grew their businesses and doing all that other stuff. And then you look at Microsoft. Microsoft has not gone anywhere since 2021. Kind of like Amazon. Kind of like this lost decade that we've been talking about.
Nick, what are you watching to see how your probability tips from one way to another? Are you watching crude? Are you watching the VIX? What are you doing to sort of keep your finger on the pulse?
I'm primarily watching the Qs, I'm watching MAG, and I'm watching the kind of the recent high flyers, as well as just kind of anything else that I've popped alerts on. I do think that as of right now, I think we're closer to the end of this than the beginning. And I think that one more leg down is going to act as kind of that basketball underwater, that rubber band, like kind of snap back. I kind of perpetually mess underwater, with that rubber band, like kind of snap. With the triangle I built after that call with Cookie. And if I was to put it in kind of an aggressive place, as in when this range began back in September, timing wise, we would have bottomed. We're bottoming this week. If I shift the triangle over to where we put a pivot high in October, then we should bottom sometime like end of April, early May. So that's why I'm kind of thinking like, if we bottomed here, if we bottomed, we did hit that first measured move that I had kind of measured out at like 550, 556. If we can bounce here, put in, again, kind of a higher low, the big thing to watch is going to be to see if that 580, actually, what is it? The 581 gets reclaimed and held. If we can get above 581 on the Qs, I think there's a good chance we head back to highs, and this is it. If we can't get above 581, I think we're rolling back down and we're going to take a leg lower. If you look at some of the magnet or some of the, I don't know, again, mag names, I was going to kind of point out, FSLR, for instance. It's had a decent pullback under the 200-day. It kind of reclaimed. It broke down yesterday, but it reclaimed that pivot low at 187. It's got kind of a good look to it.
Which name?
For solar.
For solar.
Like now you just want to see 203 get reclaimed, and you can kind of say that was a double bottom or like kind of like a Livermore, shake -3, kind of whatever. But I think it's incredibly tough right now, just being that the high flying names that we kind of pointed out earlier just recently broke their range and look like they want a leg lower. The trade could very easily reverse by just reclaiming that pivot low. Western Digital is still within that range, right? Between 240 and 300, but like MU, not so much. MU reclaims 350 and you're like, all right, let's see if this thing can kind of push back towards the high end. You have at least a spot to kind of trade against. At the same time, like a leg down looks kind of good in the longer term. They've had such a monster run and a monster move. Like, why is it such a bad thing that price pulls into the 200-day? Like, I don't, for the longer term, I don't think that's too much of a bad thing. It's just, all of the, we want the market to behave how we want it to behave, and we want it to behave in the time and fashion that we want it to. And the market's just not going to do that. So it's, I don't know. I was going to go down to kind of a rant, but
short seller used to say, ride the bull and pet the bear, right? Meaning,
sure,
go along with the trend, ride the trend, but when things turn, you need to act with some caution and not act like you're the genius.
Yeah. I mean, we've said it time and time again, you don't need to be all in, all out, leg in, leg out. Yeah. Goldman, Goldman's looking pretty good here. It looks kind of like it's kind of putting in a higher low off the 200-day. And then, you've got 855 as kind of the pivot to reclaim. If it can get above there and push to the 50-day, then it's like, all right, trend, maybe the trend resumes.
Is that a name that you want to buy?
Yeah, it is. I was in Goldman forever, but it's just a name I love to trade. I think it trades pretty, what's the right word? It trades. I like the way that it trades. Let's put it that way.
Zaw says new high flyers incoming. The memory and fiber optics are pretty stretched regardless of growth to come. Well, Zaw, tell us those high flyers, please.
Yeah.
We'd love to know.
Are you thinking like Dell and Hewlett Packard and like AOI?
Can we just talk about one thing before we go on to that? Just going back to the memory names, right? And what Zaz just said is they're stretched, right, by any means necessary. And even though they're cheap, the market is telling you that it's cheap right now based on the current earnings and maybe even the next forward earnings, but 2 years from now, it's not going to be cheap, right? And that's what you're seeing in some of these price actions. But this typically correlates. If you draw the fib extension from the 2009 lows in MU to the highs from, I think, last year to the lows, I'll show the chart later on stock notes, but it's basically all these charts have hit either the 161 extension or the 261 extension, and they're done. They may need to set up again, right? Silver hit the 161 extension, boom, done. Hood hit the 161 extension, boom, done. Had one more candle after I said this is the end, or it needs to consolidate for a while. But these larger extensions from key pivots in the charts are really hard to overcome right away, right? I think one of the few names that did it in this entire time is NVIDIA. And NVIDIA did it because they doubled their earnings from 6 billion to 11 billion quarter over quarter, right? And then they continued doing that for the next 3 quarters. So like they had a very unique circumstance that got them to that level, but getting past the 161, 261 extension on a lot of these names, especially key pivots, is really, really hard. Just keep that in mind. Like in the future going forward, if you're looking at charts, drawing that stuff, if you start to see, especially like Hood, which went from 681 to $6.81 to 153, that's a 30x move. Like, how much more growth will they need to accomplish to do another 30x? So just think logically about these things that you should be, even if you're a long-term holder, it will be a great area to trim or sell leaps 2 years out.
Za said, yeah, Dell, HPE, ARM, AMD, construction space, solar batteries. So again, there's a lot of he even mentioned South Atlanta, SATL, Satellogic. I'm going to call it South Atlanta from now on.
So why is Dell getting beat today? Does he know?
Za, why is Dell getting beat today?
It's been so strong. I'm just surprised it's
I think
so
probably just being that it has been strong, and it's probably just breathing while money moving into what's working today. Well, that's what I was thinking, but
that brings us full circle to the conversation that Nick and I were having right before we went on air, right? Was you have to have money to buy other things. And GP, you've talked about source of funds a lot over the past 6 months. Where does the source of funds come from? And you sell the ones that are ripping to buy the ones that are dipping, right? If that's your game plan. And ultimately, what my thesis has been is once we see these IPOs, more money is going to come out of the market because it has to go somewhere. It's going to have to come out of some of these names, and it's going to have to go into the SpaceXs and the Anthropics and the open AIs of the world, because I mean they're fast tracking SpaceX for the Qs. And go ahead.
Speaking of, you guys watching this, or have you been watching this VCX? Because it's sitting at 100 right now.
And it's going to go back to 5, like, or whatever it IPO'd at. Like, there's
$5?
No point. Dude, whatever. We talked about this last week. No, like people are so starved for action that they pumped up the new IPO. That's it. That's all it was. And some people got a lot of money out of it, and most people are going to you can trade it for sure. Don't get me wrong. But most people are going to be holding the bags on this, right? After watching it for like 4 or 5 days, someone goes in and be like, yo, I'm going to buy like 100 shares at 335, 337. Sure. Then they see it go to 575. Be like, yeah. And then
did you look at the holdings of VCX?
I don't care about the holdings. Like,
well, I mean, okay, fine.
Come on, man. Like we don't do fundamentals and holdings and all that other stuff. We do charts.
Well, sure. just to bring it back to these IPOs that are going to come on the market. The last time we had such notable IPOs come on the market was 2021, right? At the highs of the market, right before we legged down in 2022. And I'm not saying that all this is going to create another year, 18-month bear market. Nick, I think what you were asking me was, people are selling down now, so cash is going somewhere, right? Are they holding for these IPOs now? And I think they could be, but at the same time, when these things finally list, there is going to be a massive rotation of people who are, take my money, right? At all costs. So I think the IPOs are really going to be, especially if we get multiple. I mean, SpaceX is already at $1.5 trillion, right? So especially if we get multiple IPOs in 2026 or early 2027, there's no way that all of these names can stay at the elevated prices that they are. Money has to go somewhere to help fund it.
Who's buying SpaceX? I know there will be. I know there's a fanboys, but who the hell is buying SpaceX IPO at 1.5 trillion? I don't like. you had 20 years to go public, and now you're choosing to go public at 1.5 trillion. And Elon, we know that Elon likes to manipulate and do all that stuff. And I know the theory was that he's not going to be able to cash out via Tesla because it's just not happening. So SpaceX buys them. He gets his shit. It's the Solar City conversation, right? Solar City. He bought his brother out, and so then in this case, he's just going to buy himself out.
Yep, that's what I said was going to happen.
Yep.
I called this months ago when all of a sudden Twitter merges with XAI, and then XAI merges with SpaceX. Like this is the game plan, right? Like, how can I make the most money regardless of what everybody else gets out of it? But anyway, Nick, to answer your question about the Q entry, starting May 1st, 2026, the NASDAQ has updated its rules to allow 15 trading days for fast entry as opposed to the 3 months previously. The rule also removes the 10% free float, also includes unlisted shares aimed at integrating giant low float companies quickly. So if the NASDAQ is doing this, they are prepping for SpaceX to be part of the queues in 15 trading days as soon as it's public. And if it goes public on May 1st, if that's a weekday, let's see. May 1st is a Friday, so it won't go public on Friday, surely. So 15 trading days from, let's just say, May 4th would be May 22nd. So wouldn't that be a story to tell? It comes online as a publicly traded company on May 4th, and by the end of business on the 22nd, it will open up on the 25th. No, that's Memorial Day, long weekend. The 26th as a company in the QQQs.
Then you got to stop talking and watching this price action.
Why are we ripping? Someone just tweeted a taco tweet?
I don't know, but we just
we're up 2.5%.
We just got over 64.75, guys. Like it could get wild.
Well, I'm here for the wildness to the upside, of course.
Just one day. It might die tomorrow, but at least give us one day. One day of just awesome. Thanks, Mr. Market. Nope, already selling off. Jesus. Anyway, I don't know if there was news or anything, but
I mean, everything just popped everything just kind of we're like mid-lunch.
Yeah, I think someone's either talking and the markets are pushing higher.
Let's fucking do it.
I don't know. I got logged out of Twitter and I can't log back in. So you guys tell me.
GP, I saw a comment that you had while I was doing my diatribe on Elon. You have to do the IPO roadshow. I don't think he has to do the IPO roadshow. I think he wants to get it all done beforehand and have his 1.5 to 1.75 trillion dollars already realized when it's public. I don't think he's planning on greasing any palms to make this happen.
But he is doing the IPO roadshow, right? So the IPO roadshow comment was in regards to SPACs, right? What's SPACs? Yeah. So SPACs avoided because their financials weren't good enough, they couldn't do the IPO roadshow. And because they couldn't do their IPO roadshow, they went via these alternative instruments, which is always a bad idea. You shouldn't have been public in the first place, but here, let's go public, which is why
John said Iran's president said we're ready to end the war but want guarantees. So that's why we're ripping. And if Trump tweets the war has no end, then the market will rally. Or if Trump tweets the war has to end, then we will rally into the end of the year. Yes. Yeah, VPA, you're right. Elon's saying he's allotting 30% of SpaceX for retail. Isn't that magnanimous of him? Let's drill down on some 15-minute time frames here to look at the Q's rippage that we got going on. And if anybody knows what I need to do to get my trading view back to the way it was, let me know, because I'm tired of the scrolling garbage that I'm into here lately. I don't know why it won't lock on the spot that I'm on. That's a big boner bar there, GP.
Yep. Loving every moment of it.
What did you say the number was on the
64.75
on the SPX?
and we're all above that. So the dynamic hedging goes the other way.
Oh, it's out the damn window now.
Yeah.
No, they can still pull it back, right? Like under.
Well, yeah. I'm just saying we're well above that now.
Yep.
65.15 and counting. USO is dumping according to ZA. There's some selling there. There we go. There's some sell. Well, just like we wanted you to do, sellers. You step in and you ruin the party every time.
Nice. This is. I don't like. It's still flashing red on my screen, even though everything is great.
It's just gotten used to that over the past 3 sessions.
Ain't that the truth?
Maybe the IGV. The IGV gonna fucking bottom out or what?
It's the question I asked a couple of weeks ago, right? I was like, with all those buyers, who's left to buy?
Yeah.
Just like crypto, right?
Yeah.
Who you have institutions in, who's left to buy? Is retail going to push it up? In the past, I might have said, yeah, Nick, but now I don't know.
Dude, these are major reclaims, by the way. On if all of this holds, these are major reclaims across the board. If the SPX gets over 6,600 today, that's going to be huge. Yeah, that's going to be huge.
So you're saying it was maybe smart that I bought some more CoreWeave at $68 yesterday.
I don't know. I bought it at 69, so that felt like more of a meme.
Fannie and Fannie Mae.
That's Bill Ackman doing his usual pump crap. He's like, "Oh, buy this cheap. Here's 51% for you, Bill, to sell into."
I back to CoreWeave for just a second. I was really debating on whether I should have added to my position yesterday, but when I looked at it, Nick, it hadn't closed on a weekly time frame below $70, and I said, I'll take a shot at 68. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong.
Yeah. I got some of that at 69 yesterday.
Hey guys, we got like 15 minutes. If you want us to look at a few names, throw some tickers out there.
Yeah, I'm trying to manage a portfolio while this is happening. So
GP may not be available.
Yeah,
GP may not be available, but we'll do our best. Nick throws out one. NBIS. Thank you, Nick.
Yeah. Nimbus is kind of one of those, recent growth names. I like it. Had a nice sell-off into the 200-day again and has been holding, been kind of putting in higher lows along the 200-day. I think the 100 is an easy level to kind of trade against in either direction, really.
Nice psychological level.
Yeah. It's got a pretty decent range too, from about let's see here. So from about 75 to 130, 135. So when this thing does break out, 200 is probably going to act as a magnet on this next leg higher. If it decided to leg down, kind of same thing, it'd probably retest that kind of mini stage one base it kind of built earlier, coming out of the 2022. Or did it? ARM was another one that I think somebody had mentioned earlier. That thing looks pretty good. Kind of same thing. It had a nice pop higher, sold off. As of right now, holding the 200-day, which is basically flatlined. It took out yesterday's high. I think you could use yesterday's candle as a candle to trade against if you wanted to. On a bigger time frame, I like the look of ARM a lot and has yet to kind of break out of this big base, which is about 100 points or so. So kind of, again, this thing breaks out above 180. 300 is probably the number that I would imagine it kind of runs to. SAT-L, John. Yeah, SAT-L looks
South
really
Atlanta,
good.
baby.
Yeah.
And we're right back to 64.75. Bull's got to hold here, otherwise it goes the other way. This is why the market's crazy. Sorry, you guys.
What do you think about SATL?
Yeah, SAT-L, I think it looks really good. Kind of a cup and handle build out here. Individually, kind of, it's piercing that wide body candle from yesterday. Held the 20-day. Got another pivot at 680.
Higher high.
Yeah, I mean, $4 is kind of like the number I think to, under under 390, $4, probably cut it loose. But yeah, AHR I think looks fantastic too, John. Another, I don't know if you would call it a cup and handle, but it had kind of a cup and handle breakout and just been kind of wedging into the 250-day.
Cuppy-ish. Yeah, I would call it cuppy-ish.
Both Rocket Labs and ASTS, I thought, had kind of both kind of good looks to them. Kind of a slow grind or wedge into the rising 200-day. I think, again, kind of both of them, yesterday's candle, kind of the candle you could probably trade against.
I love when we have marked spaces, right? I love when we have marked spaces that work out.
Yeah.
AMPX.
Yeah.
Is this one of the names that I brought up? Yep, AMPX sure is. That's the Andrew Jason. I like it if it can retake that 1680.
I think
it looks good though for reversal. Let's look at Fastly, Nick. That's a name you've been in and out of.
Yeah, I think again, yesterday's candle. If you're out of it, yesterday's candle, probably the candle to trade against. Reclaiming the 10-day, held the 20. I think you could have a cheater entry through 29, and then again, probably if you want to chase it through 31. Definitely a recent kind of hot Momo name breaking out of that stage 1 base. I would imagine it's got a little bit more juice in the tank if this market wants to keep running. Those are the kind of the Fastleys out there, I think, are the names that are of high interest to me, at least coming out of this. AAOI is another one.
Which one, Nick? AAY?
AAOI.
AOI.
Yeah. I think that's GP. You got something playing in the background?
Yeah, the baby's playing.
Yeah, I'm here visiting my niece and my dad. I brought my dad this time.
Oh, your dad's there. That's so great.
So he's doing the Goo Goo Gaga stuff.
He's playing with his granddaughter. That's so great.
Yes.
Yes, that's fabulous.
She's
I'm
not
glad
allowed to be on TV, otherwise I would show you.
I'm so glad that he came with you, GP. That's great. That is so
Yeah,
great.
it's gonna be like on my brother's side. My wife's coming tomorrow, so it's gonna be all of us together. So it'll be nice. You just never know when you get those opportunities. So
I love it.
you can go ahead. You can make your Google account, guys. It's all good.
Yeah, we just on the stream for another 10 minutes. It's all good. John says WATT.
WATT.
I mean,
John, really?
Like John. I can see why you would be interested, brother, but like it's down and to the right forever. Anything can trade, so like you've got to cross over the weekly moving averages. That's good.
None of you guys gonna talk about Circle?
Oh yeah.
Sure, we'll talk about Circle. There you go. There's Circle.
A perfect 61.8 retrace off the earnings breakout on news of some congressman doing some kind of proposal somewhere. You got a really good trading level here. This is literally the high after earnings, the 2-day earnings move. That was the high of 90.60. That's what we just tagged, which is also the 61% retrace. It's a solid looking name. I think you have to look at mags, honestly.
Yeah.
Like
God, that. Yeah.
You kind of have to look at Meta and Microsoft and NVIDIA, obviously, but NVIDIA's like it just executes, yet the price doesn't respond in the same way. But Microsoft got down to a $2.6 trillion valuation from a little over $4 trillion, and they still do $80 billion in free cash flow. Their entire capex is $100 billion. It's an investment year, though, Ben. You've talked about investment years. How in the past have investment years played out? Typically over a couple of years?
Yeah, typically it takes 18 months to 2 years for investment years to play out. Typically. Yeah.
But this is the AI build out, right? So the assumption is that it's faster.
There's exceptions to every rule, right? We're just talking broad strokes.
Yeah.
18 months to 2 years. I mean, it's hard for a company to put billions of dollars to work and expect to see a huge transformation on that path forward in less than 4 quarters. Like it's very difficult to do, right? But at the same time, we have never seen these large of investments before.
All I will say is, dude, it's AI, right? 18 months in the AI world feels like a really long time to drop the ball.
Yep.
Right. So, yeah, like that's the thing. Like these guys have to invest at rapid speeds and execute at rapid speeds to make this worth it.
Well, I don't think we think of it as they're all in competition with each other, right? Mm-hmm. Whoever has the best model the quickest at scale is going to win. And that throw out OpenAI, throw out Anthropic. We're just talking about the hyperscalers and the mags, right? They're all trying to do their own thing that's a similar thing at scale. So whether it's Microsoft or Google or Amazon or Meta, like they are all trying to do their own thing with massive investments behind it. Mm-hmm. The first one who comes out on top is going to be ahead. And I thought one thing that we learned at Stocktoberfest was hearing how far Google actually might be ahead. Now, while we don't see that necessarily on the current stock price, it makes sense while they may be so far ahead. And now you're hearing of Siri going to Google, right? So Apple and Google are maybe going to be using Gemini, right? As well as others. So I think when you start looking at the scale in which these companies are competing, it's unprecedented. and we don't know what the rapid time frame shift forward looks like. I do think you're right, GP. I think 18 months out, like we're seeing things happen over the course of days and weeks and quarters, not necessarily years anymore. So how quickly that happens, I don't know.
In the scale on which many CEOs are talking, maybe not Microsoft, but like Jensen specifically, and we all trust Jensen right now, right? And Elon as well, and you see what Jeff Bezos is doing behind the scenes because he no longer runs Amazon. These guys are still fully engaged in the AI world and in a meaningful capacity. And they're talking about the age of abundance. And I get that. Like, they have to talk it up. They're spending all this money. But just something to keep in mind if they are right, what it looks like and how it looks like it.
I want to find my here's my tweet, and I can put it up on the screen so everybody can see it, and I don't have to pretend to read it. No, wrong button.
That's bullish.
That's
bullish.
That's 100% bullish. Well, why is this not working? There you go. Can you see my screen?
Yes, sir.
So capital intensity doesn't mean bad returns. I mean, historic precedent, if you look at Amazon, right? Spent 50 billion AWS, margins are compressed. AWS became the most profitable part of Amazon. Same thing for Tesla. And I can pin this tweet or share it later. But just because it typically takes that long doesn't mean it always turns that long. And Amazon showed that it didn't take that long. So this is basically the start of its AWS expenditure, right? Yeah, and it went sideways for 6 months until it finally resolved higher, right? So if it took 6 months then, does it take 6 months now? I don't know. Same thing for Tesla. Basically, it went sideways for a couple of years before it pulled in and then went higher. So just because it said, just because the playbook says 18 months to 2 years doesn't necessarily mean that. Let's get Inception off the screen there. Hey, we're out of time. Woo! That hour flew by.
Tesla was 6 years. It broke out in 2013 and then retested in 2019. A lot of people talk about 4 years or 3 years. It was 6. The 2013 to 2014 breakout is what was retested in 2019.
Right, but when the contention that tweet is making is when the investment comes in for that specific year. Mm-hmm. So regardless of what happened before that, it was when the investment happened. So I think it was 4 years, but I'll go back and look at that.
Nice.
GP, final words for you, my brother.
It's all about family. Always has, always will be.
Hell yes. Nicholas?
Oh shit. Stay sharp. Stay on your game.
That's it?
Yeah, that's it. Stay sharp.
I was looking for something powerful, Frank. I was
feeling
your aura, Nick.
The market could really go either way. So it's pick your spots and be disciplined about the spots that you're picking, and give yourself room to leg in, leg out. Let's go.
I love it. GP, I love the family time. I'm so happy that you all get to be together, and your beautiful bride will be out there with you tomorrow. That'll be awesome. So I'm going to keep it family oriented. I mean, you guys have seen what I've been doing over the last week, just having fun with the kids. We're on spring break as a family this week. Nice. So I'm taking time to hop on here, and as opposed to doing other fun dad things, but it's all about the time, and you can make a lot of money, but you can't make a lot of time. So with that, don't forget to go vote for our guys. Go to hashtag.stocktwits.com. Vote for Nick, vote for GP, either one of them, vote for both of them. We don't care. We love them both for Community Member of the Year. And we hope to see you in New York at the New York Stock Exchange on May 4th. But we'll see you tomorrow. We've got Stock Twits Community Rip Live at 1 p.m. Eastern. 1 p.m. Eastern, Nick. 1 p.m. Eastern. I always got to remind you, 1 p.m. Eastern. And we'll have a lot of fun, but we'll see you there over there on that channel. Thanks so much for watching, and see you mañana.